What's going on, everyone in the Jason Nation? My name is Jason and welcome back to another Sun and Moon video. Now today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than what you see most people do, and I've never really done something like this before when it comes to covering Pokemon news, and especially when it's been to Sun and Moon news. Like, if you'd like more of like a compiled video on all my thoughts collectively rather than making, like, you know, a new video every single time one Pokemon comes out, whereas maybe at the end of the month or something like that I can recap everything that was like announced or shown off during that month, give my thoughts on it all in one big video rather than several other ones like spaced out throughout the month, unless it's like of something of greater importance that comes out. You know, if it's something like bigger than just one single Pokemon or something like that, then maybe I'll probably make a video about it if it's something important to me. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's a bit like less of spammy uploads, I suppose. I don't really know. The main reason why I'm making this video today, though, however, is yesterday your boy made a no-no. He made a mistake, which admittedly, it was a mistake that I can't even believe I actually made. So yesterday, we were streaming. We were doing our fun streaming for the new like information that was announced, and the stream was doing extremely well. Like, this is one of the best streams I think I've had like ever on my channel. And the video itself was only like an hour and a half long. The stream was only an hour and a half long. But the thing is, this video got blocked by Pokemon. Like, it got blocked worldwide. The thing is, what ended up happening is that video, for some reason, it got claimed by the Japanese YouTube channel, which, in all fairness, I mean, they have the right to do that. It is their intellectual property. For that reason, I can't really complain. But what was interesting, I found out about it, is Nappy, or as most of you know him, the King Nappy, I saw he tweeted out as well, and he got the same problem. And it was because we used a part of the Japanese trailer, and apparently that one's like copyrighted and whatnot. Now, to my understanding, like, everything's sort of under fair use when it comes to reaction trailers and stuff like that. I don't really like there's I don't want to get into it. There's some specifics that you really can and can't do, but like, I don't know, man. There's a lot of weird laws and flaws with the frickin' YouTube copyright system as of right now. But what I can say is that unfortunately that video, despite how well it was doing, it's not coming back, so I had to just get rid of it, which is really a pain in the ass. So none of you guys got to really like see any of my collective thoughts on what I think about any of the new information or anything like that, and I thought that this might be a good time to make a video like this. I'm more pissed off that because that video was deleted, no one got to see my thoughts on everything, and I feel like with that specific one, I decided to go a little bit more like in depth and beyond about what I thought about everything, and sort of just stay there for a little bit, answer more questions, sort of give my opinions and thoughts on it, and then that happened. So either way, without any more of like a long introduction to this video, what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you through some of my thoughts about the Pokemon Sun and Moon news that's been covered over the last like month and a half, because I really haven't talked about too much of it, and just give my thoughts on some things. But we're going to start with what was announced yesterday. So we're gonna go through, play some clips from the English trailer, not the Japanese one, just to highlight some key elements about what I'm specifically talking about, because again, I want to go in depth with some of this. So this might be a longer video, so brace yourself. If you're hyped for it, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and without any further ado, let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about here, before we get into any of the new Pokemon that were announced, there's one thing in particular that's been sort of bugging me a little bit, that people have not really, like, people have talked about it, and it's something that I feel like is a bit concerning for those who really like the concept of Mega Evolution. But I feel like this is going to be a very big topic of interest over the next couple of weeks that people are going to be commenting about. And the one thing is, this is the new, what is supposedly the new like Mega Bracelet, or the like Keystone Bracelet, or whatever they call it, you know? Now the thing with this is, you can see even in this art right here, as we zoom in, you can clearly tell. Actually, can we get a bigger image of this? Yeah, we can. So as you can see there, if we zoom in with this image, you can actually see that the trainer is wearing that bracelet that we originally saw on the first page there. And so that sort of definitely reminds me of the Mega Bracelet from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and X and Y, when that was like originally introduced, which was in X and Y. So now this leads a lot of people to believe that this is going to be this generation's new Mega Evolution item per se. Now the traits that this item has, I feel like can be similar to Mega Evolution, but here's why I definitely think that Mega Evolution might not actually be in this game, and this sort of will confirm this in a way. Okay, now the concerning part about this is, as we saw, there was these new introduction of these Z-moves and all that. Now what's interesting is it says right there at the top, unleash a Z-move once per battle. as we go along and we see some of the gameplay for some of these Z moves, we've come to notice that this is something very similar to that of a Mega Evolution. As we know, they're using the same type of crystals that you can see on the bracelets for each of these Pokemon. Now, the one that's displayed on the website actually happens to be an electric one, and you can see the trainer using one of the Z moves with Pikachu. So you have that move being represented within that image right there. Now, the other thing that you can wonder about this is, okay, now, so does that mean that you can maybe get Pikachu as a starter? Because if you have the 3 starters who each have their own respective crystals, does that mean that it's impossible to be able to get all 3 starters to use their Z moves if you have all 3 starters in game, right? Like, let's say you had someone trade you with the other 2 starters you don't have. Would it be impossible to unleash their Z move within the game as well? And so that leaves a ton of us thinking like, okay, well, if that is the case, then does that mean that maybe it's possible we can remove these crystals and attach different ones to them, like within our key items bag? So then another question from there is, okay, what if that means that Mega Evolution is still possible? The only thing that is sort of, in a way, it's like a 50-50 shot with this. But where it says, unleash a Z move only once per battle. As we know, one function of Mega Evolution already that was introduced to us about 3 years ago now was that you can only have 1 Mega Evolution active per battle. Obviously, the Mega Evolution was the power of the bracelet. That was the mechanic of it, so that's being used again, this time for the Z moves. So if you can only use these like super ultra powerful moves only once per battle, it's sort of like unleashing your Pokemon's full potential per se, but it's only doing it for 1 battle or 1 time, you know? So it makes you wonder, are they just reskinning the Mega Evolution concept and doing it, in my opinion, in a kind of a weirder way? I'm not too sure how I feel about the Z moves. I think I like the idea of like evolving my Pokemon even more than it, and like making it look cooler than it already does. But the other thing that you gotta think about with that is, what if it's possible that that means what I mentioned earlier, if we can remove each of the crystals and put one on depending on which starter Pokemon we'd like to power up with this move, does that mean that this can also serve as a Keystone bracelet for Mega Stones as well? Because like I said, it wouldn't make too much sense if they just decided to go with the idea of doing, depending on which starter you pick, then you get like the respective crystal for it. But then that would be stupid if you wanted to trade the other starters in and use their moves. That obviously means that it's changeable depending on which Pokemon you'd like to power up with it. Which then again makes me think, is it possible that we can maybe find Mega Stones still around in the Alola region to get the previous Mega Evolutions that we had before and then power them up with the bracelet? That's the thing that's like a 50-50 shot at this point, because we don't know for sure if Game Freak is actually going to bring forward that concept of Mega Evolution again into 7th generation. As we know, they've been definitely leaning more towards the idea of like fusing Pokemon together and the idea of soul bonding, as we've seen with the Synergy Burst and Pokken Tournament, and we've also seen with the Ashra Ninja in the anime itself, is like the idea of fusing trainer and Pokemon's soul together, or their mind and soul together, to become one new powerful version. So in a way, I think that's what this game is sort of trying to go at with this type of Z power feature. But the thing is, again, it still places the question, if we can remove the crystals to change which typing or which crystal is on the bracelet depending on what Pokemon you want to power up, then maybe we can do the same thing for Mega Evolutions. I'm not sure how it would work. Maybe we have an entirely separate bracelet for that, because I don't know, this one does look a bit different compared to the one we had in the previous games. But either way, it's still possible. Now, the other thing to wonder about this is, as I've made videos in the past talking about this, and it's also something that relates directly into what I just spoke about here with the possibility of a Z-type for every move, and you actually see it say that in the trailer. Now, something that I'm actually going to talk about here that sort of correlates into something else that I made a video on a little while ago. This might work out in a sense where not every Pokemon may get a new Mega Evolution, although I'm sure if Mega Evolution is included in this game, there will be new Megas, but I feel like they're going to focus more heavily on the Z-Power stuff, unless it's only to do with starter Pokemon, in which case, this could also be something viable. A lot of people, myself included, have been saying that a lot of the other starters need to get Mega Evolutions, and because of a theory video that I made in the past showing that X and Y and Sun and Moon presumably model Red and Blue and Gold and Silver respectively, that maybe because in Gen 1 we have like the Kanto starters, and then Gen 2 you got the Johto starters, and how in Gen 6 and X and Y we could actually get the Kanto starters from Professor Sycamore, does that mean it's possible that maybe either from Professor Kukui or maybe someone else in the game, we might be able to get the Johto starters as like secondary starters in Sun and Moon? But then does that mean that we can maybe use these like Z crystals, I'll call them that for now, to possibly use them for any Pokemon of any type? Does that mean that it will unlock the ability to get any Pokemon to use any move that is of the Z Crystal's typing? Meaning, if I wanted to take my Ampharos as an example, could I make my Ampharos use Pikachu's move that was demonstrated in the trailer? Because as it shows in the trailer, the way that they fool you, and this is how a lot of game companies do it, they'll hide something in the complete, like, incomplete plain sight, you know? The way they portray it in this is that it says Z moves for every type. But the way it portrays this is it shows Pikachu plus the 3 starters. That's the promotional like images and gameplay they've shown so far. But it says unleash a Z move once per battle, and then it'll say a Z move for every type. So does that mean, because there's definitely not a starter of every single type, and we know for a fact that there's definitely room for more Pokemon to get either more powerful, like not Mega Evolutions, but more powerful like stages. Maybe this can do something even greater when they become fully evolved, because again, we've only seen the basis of what Z moves can do. Maybe this will provide some like more powerful, like, I don't know, form change or some kind of enhancement when you're fully evolved, as opposed to like just like a base Pokemon. But regardless of that, like, I honestly think that it's possible that we could use these Z moves for basically any Pokemon. So that's one way they like really trick you with that, is they'll make you think you can only do it for the starters. But I feel like, yes, there may be certain like extra capabilities that your starter Pokemon may have, but I feel like these Z-type crystals, if they can be used for every other Pokemon, then maybe they won't introduce any new Mega Evolutions. They'll just keep the old ones they had, and they won't introduce any more, which would then also be able to prove my theory right of maybe we'll still have Mega Evolution. You could put it on your Keystone bracelet, like the Mega Evolution thing, or maybe get a different bracelet entirely, or maybe this is just the new Mega Evolution replacement, and this is the new way of getting all Pokemon to reach a new maximum potential once per battle, and that is by unlocking their Z power, which is sort of funny how everybody was saying, where's Pokemon Z, where's Pokemon Z? This is Pokemon Z. Pokemon Sun and Moon. Literally is Pokemon Z. Ta-da! Now, one thing I could not be more happy about is this. Getting to see more action of riding some of these Pokemon. As you can see, you're riding a goddamn Tauros and a Mudsdale right here with like some reins and harnesses and all that cool stuff. You see, you can ride a Sharpedo in the water, break through boulders and stuff. You can call on a Charizard a goddamn sword, dude! Do you know? See, I really wish I could have downloaded my original like reaction to all of that. Do you guys understand how hyped I was when I saw that shit? Like, I don't think you guys actually understand. I screamed when I saw that Soaring was back, dude. I was saying for the longest time that Soaring needs to come back from Oras, like how you could do it with Latios and Latias. And I'm not saying that it's gonna be back in full effect where you'll have a flute and you can just call upon a Pokemon, but I feel like that same feature will sort of be a different way of doing it, but the same mechanic will be implemented in Sun and Moon, where maybe you'll have a key item where you could call on the Pokéride service and you could get like a Tauros to your location or a Charizard to your location or something like that, and you could soar on them, man. Like, I think that is the coolest gosh darn thing that they've actually done so far by releasing that in the trailer. Now, this next part right here is where it gets really interesting, and I want to give you guys some interesting food for thought on this one. So here they introduce to you what's called the Island Challenge, where you meet the trial captains, as they call them, and you can see here each character seemingly represents their own type, and it even says their specialty type. That one was grass, then we've got Atlanta, that's water, and then the next two you'll see are electric and then fire. What's also interesting is you'll notice you sort of kind of meet these people in different special areas. More specifically, these next two, you got Sophocles here, who looks like he's in some kind of like cosmonaut scientist laboratory sort of, so it's like a special looking area, and here you look like you're on top of like a platform on top of like a volcano. So when you ask me, if you see these type of special areas that don't just look like your average like routes or something like that in the Pokemon games, those are usually within the gyms. So everybody kind of thought, okay, well, instead of the Gym Leader Challenge, it's now called the Island Challenge, you know? And then you've got yourself the different trial specialists or trial guys trial captains, that's what they're called, that have their special types and all that, and basically you got to meet all the trial captains and beat them. Now the thing is, again, another way that they trick you in this trailer is I don't know if there's only going to be 4 trial captains. Something tells me that might be just a bit problematic, because I think people would complain if they changed the game that drastically, because what I'm about to tell you is already changing into a whole new way of playing the game. Like, they really are changing the game. But what they're doing with this time around is something very, very interesting, I think. The way that I think that they're going to go about it this time is, as we know, there's 4 islands, right? So they're trying to show us everything in 4s in a way to trick us, but in a way to also give us a bit of a better hint. Now think about this. You have the island challenge, and it shows off the 4 captains that they've shown so far. However, with 4 islands, you think, okay, so there's just 1 captain per island. That's lame. There's only 4 gyms. What I like to think is each island might have 2 gyms, and I'll go a little bit more into depth as I say that. Just give me a moment and I'll show you what might actually prove that in a moment. But each island might have 2 of these captains, and then after you beat the 2 captains on each island, then it actually shows you clear each island's trials and battle the kahunas. So you gotta beat the trial captains, and then you find the kahuna of Melee Island right here. So that's Hala. So that's the first island you start on. But the interesting part is this. It says beat the trials, implying multiple trials on an island. So, and I'll even show you the text, clear each island's trials and beat the kahunas. So maybe there's 2 trials per island. Then once you beat the 2 trials, you go and fight the kahuna. In this case, on the first island, you've got Hala, who we've known for a while as the island's strongest trainer. And then when you battle him, then it also shows you in a previous clip that these things called totem Pokemon exist, where they're like regular Pokemon. There's no form change to them, but they're more powerful, and they also have the ability to call in an ally Pokemon. So it's really interesting to see how they're taking a different approach with the gyms this time around, because no longer is it going to be gym leaders. It's actually just going to be straight up trial challenges, and you go beat 2 per island, beat the kahuna, and then you leave. But let me ask you something here, and this is something to really think about. So the kahunas are the strongest trainers of each of the islands, right? And there's 4 islands. If we look at the Alala Map, where would you go to fight the Elite 4? If anybody asks me personally, I'd say that you probably fight them in that one small little island, sort of up towards the top 2 islands, that is that little like tower that it looks like it has in the middle of the ocean. What I want to ask you is it possible that maybe, just maybe, we are actually going to be fighting only the champion there? And the way I say that and sort of leave you guys to question what I mean by that is maybe there's a lot more to do after you beat just the 8 trials and all the kahunas. Maybe there's a whole nother section to the story before you beat the champion, because I think the kahunas of each island are the Elite 4. You don't do it in like casual tradition of beating the 8 trial leaders, or sorry, gym leaders in this case, and then you go and fight the Elite 4, then you fight the champion right after. And the thing is with the Elite 4 and the champion, some people could argue, but for those who like more content within the game, could argue that the ending sort of goes by rather quick, because you beat them all in rapid succession with no breaks in between. So maybe because it's been 20 years and they've been following that same fashion for how long now, maybe they're thinking of a different way to switch it up, where it's still the same concept, but it's giving the gameplay a different advantage, I guess, and a different way of going about playing these games. And I think that's really awesome, because I think that'll add for a lot of new different ways to play Sun and Moon, and like challenge runs and all that different stuff. So this is what I'm talking about here, so I can give you guys a better representation. In one of the parts of the trailer, we can actually see the first 2 trial leaders seemingly seem to be in like grassland areas, but they are most likely probably on the same island. One could argue, but let's just say that. Because right here you can see we're in what looks like to be a forest or some kind of shaded path area that leads up maybe towards the top of a mountain or just on another route somewhere. So we can see that. And then in the next one, you can also see that we meet Lana, the water specialist, on another like sort of like what's it called, like shaded plains, wooden path, I don't know what you want to call it, just another like grassy plains area. But then you see in here we're inside of what looks like to be some laboratory with sophicles. I love that name. And then you got on top of a volcano for this guy, I don't know how you say his name, Kiawe or something like that. But here's the thing, so if you look at it, what is the most grassland looking area in this whole region? My personal opinion is this one, and I also do believe this is the island we start on, so what makes more sense than to literally just show the first two specialists? So you've got probably one inside of the forest. I think this is where Lana would be inside of this forest up here on this island. Try to like get a better shot here. Up in this forest area is where Lana probably is within that trailer, just by looking at it. And then by looking at where the first one is, the grass woman, she's maybe somewhere closer to possibly even the bottom of that area, or on the other side of the region, somewhere where we know it's a bit more shaded, because as you can see in the shot, it's a bit of a darker area that you're in within the woods maybe. That's what makes me think, because it looked like there was actually a bit of a hill going upwards to the side there, it's possible that it could be like somewhere at the bottom of one of these hills that you take to go around the mountain, and then inside of the forest around here or something like that. Maybe you exit after you take the first festival, or you do the first festival, you exit through the forest, and then you go down the mountain, and then that's how you meet some of the specialists. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you fight them, but that just could be like where you meet them. That could be some of the beta footage, you know what I'm trying to say. And then, so the next one, we see sophicles. So sophicles is an interesting one because we don't know exactly where there's a laboratory, but we can try our best to pinpoint it. What I'd like to say is, considering there's a bunch of rocks over to this side of the island, and there's boats that are seemingly traveling towards this direction, it's more than likely that this is where we come dock next. We go straight from this island down to here, which would actually make a lot of sense, because if we go right down here, again, another way they can trick you with this is they don't have to show you them in any specific order. We don't know what order we'll be meeting these guys in, we don't know what order we'll see them in or anything, but right here, you can see what look like to be some hot springs on top of some like some volcano-y plains. You can also argue that it might be on right over here is where you meet Kiawe, but I doubt there'd be 3 specialists on one island. But again, one could argue, leave your comments if you disagree on some of these locations. I'm just trying to make some opinions here. So that could be one place for the Kiawe, the fire guy. But then the most notable place that I want to say, and also, just gonna point out, Azoth Kingdom. Azoth Kingdom! I'm going to talk about that more in the future because there's interesting stuff regarding that. Okay, so, couple things to start off the bat. The new Alolan forms. These Alolan forms of Pokemon are really, really awesome. I plan on making some new videos regarding these Alola forms. Also, I'd like to know if you guys could see any Alola form Pokemon that you would, like any Pokemon you'd want to get, like any kind of Alola form. Anything of the sort. Go ahead and leave it down in the comments. Let me know what you think, what your favorite one would be you'd like to see happen, and we'll get into more of this as time goes on. So, like I was gonna say, this Exeggutor, that's freaking awesome. The Ninetales and the Vulpix, I did that backwards, but those two are really awesome. I really like the Alolan Sandslash, that is freaking sick, and I love the little Sandshrew, he's so cute. He's got like an extra little like hood above there. He looks like a little like Eskimo, he's so cute. But now here we got a couple new Pokemon to talk about. First of all, we've got these new grass types. I don't know the names of these guys. We got Fomantis. This is kind of cool. This is sort of like this, like generation's, what's that thing called? Oh, dude, what's it called? Yeah, that's basically what this generation's Petalil is. If you look here, it's almost the exact same. Oh wait, almost like the exact same concept in some ways. So it's basically this generation's Petalil. I'm not too hyped for that. And then we got this thing. This thing at first, when I first saw it, I thought that this thing was like one of the Guardians, because it kind of looks a little bit similar to Tapu Koko in terms of its stance, but it doesn't have the Tiki design, so I was like, okay, never mind. Which again, that's something else I'll get more into in a future video. But this is pretty cool to see. I like this Pokemon. Its design is pretty clean. I'm a little disappointed they didn't give it a dual typing. I don't know why they just did grass. They could have done bug grass. I mean, give it a quad weakness to fire. It's not like they haven't given other Pokemon goddamn quad weaknesses when they don't even need them. I don't get it. Then of course we've got Donald Trump's evolution, because we all know this thing looks like Donald Trump. There's no questioning it. But this thing looks cool. I don't know if I'm gonna use one on my team, Probably not. I really don't like this thing. I don't like the way it looks, but this is like a strong jaw as an ability. I think that might be its hidden ability or something. So that's pretty cool. I wonder if he'll actually get access to any of the elemental fangs. That'd be pretty cool to find out. I mean, Gumshoes is cool. Probably not gonna be like one of my mains or anything, but he's a cool Pokemon. He's a cool Pokemon. We got this dude that literally looks like a gosh darn Bakugan. I don't care what anybody says. This thing looks like a goddamn, like, doesn't look like a Dragonoid. I'm trying to remember what what Bakugan like kind of looks like that. There's something that looks like that, but apparently it has like 4 different like colors that you can get for it, which is just like, that's kind of strange in itself, but it's cool. And I want to assume that it's more than likely, actually, now that I think about it, you know how each of the islands are presumably named after different colors, with the fact that the first island is named Mele Mele Island, which translates to yellow from Japanese. There's a yellow guy right here, and there's 4 different versions of him. What if these are the colors of each of the islands? That's possible. I don't know. I mean, we haven't had any other confirmation. At least I don't think we have, or maybe we have. I don't know, but that's something cool. But either way, you're probably gonna get one of these different colors on each of the islands, presumably. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what importance this Pokemon has, but that's something to think about. And speaking of other Pokemon getting 4 different forms, you got the 4 different birds, basically the Vivillon of this generation. But these things are so awesome. I am definitely gonna use one of these. Like, I don't know about all my main team, but they're so cute. I can't wait to water trade these things out, man. You've got this guy. I think they're all named the same thing. They just got, yeah, Oricorio, the Bale style. His ability is Dancer. Yo, it looks, that's so awesome. It looks like it's doing that, like, the, whatever the shit, some salsa dancing. I don't even know that's a salsa dance. I'll probably get yelled at by people. The pom-pom style, they all have the Dancer ability. That's so sick. They're like the dancing birds. It's so cool. I love this. Is like a Hawaiian dancer, and then this one's like a Japanese looking dancer with like the sensu style. It's like the fans, you know what I'm talking about. That's pretty awesome. I like these guys. Those are cool. And then also you have Mudsdale's like previous evolution, which is just Mudbray. The dude looks like it's on a lot of drugs with those eyes, man. I'm just saying, he looks like he's, I can't take it seriously. But I think all in all, that's pretty much all I had to talk about today for like my opinions on some of the new Pokemon. Previous ones that were released, like, you know, you had Mudsdale. I never talked about him, and some of the other ones that were released in like the last batch of Pokemon. To be honest, I didn't really feel like I needed to. I did talk about them a little bit, but like I didn't go really in depth with it. But I don't really know. Honestly, man, I don't feel a point to go in depth about every single Pokemon. That doesn't really have much of an importance until the game's actually out, of course, because then it's possible to make more speculation knowing more about it. But this is, I don't know how long this video will be. I've been recording for like 40 minutes, so let's see how long this condenses down to. Nevertheless though, if you guys did enjoy this, please feel free to leave a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. I just wanted to sort of give you guys all my thoughts about what I think about some of the stuff that's been revealed so far, and some of my predictions and thoughts about everything. And again, this is sort of to make up for the fact that the video yesterday got deleted and I couldn't really get you guys to watch it because it was blocked literally worldwide. Freaking Pokemon. It's okay, I understand, that's what happens sometimes, but nevertheless, it's all good. You gotta do what you gotta do. But I wanted to give you guys my opinions for those who wanted to know more about it. Hopefully some of you are even interested in hearing about my thoughts and opinions on this. Regardless though, if you guys enjoy, like I said, feel free to leave a thumbs up. I'd greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I hope you enjoy my thoughts on the new Pokemon in Sun and Moon and all that. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say, so just leave it at that. I'll see you guys in the next one.